In a normal year, island politicians spend their summer eating strawberry shortcake and schmoozing with voters. But this is no normal summer. Big questions hang over all three party leaders. Both Robert Mitchell and Rob Lance are fighting for their political lives. Temperatures are heating up outside, and so is the political rumor mill. It's episode 10 of Myers and MacNeill because life is local, and we've got all the angles covered. Well, Stephen Myers, we have reached episode 10 of Myers and MacNeill because life is local. It's a bit of a celebration day. We're in double digits.
Yeah, I get all my stamps. But I want to say this. I want to say this before we start. I had a lot of people reach out and say, you didn't record a podcast last week. You and Paul are fighting. And I'm like, no, I was away with my family. So
Yes, and your family actually is right to take priority,
and
especially on
Paul,
vacations.
you and I have fought a lot over the years, and we're still doing a podcast together. So fighting doesn't mean anything in my world.
Fighting doesn't mean anything. I mean, politics done right is the ability to disagree strongly and then go have a beer or a coffee
Which
or
I think
whatever your drink of choice is.
It could be a problem today with the sitting government, but let's maybe get into it.
Well, that's your problem, not my problem. Listen, this is the summer of leadership. We're into strawberry socials. We're into campaigning. We're trying to ensure that a leader's standing is maintained. And at the top of the list, you want to start with the Liberals or the Tories this week, Stephen?
Let's start with the Tories. I mean, their government. I think the Tories still have trouble, and I think they had, the spring was bad for them for so many reasons that we could probably outline. But and I hear over and over again that people don't necessarily like Rob a lot, which I don't think is an issue. I think lots of people said they didn't like me either, and I won 4 times. So being liked is not necessarily the thing that you need to be as long as you're doing something, and he's not doing anything. So I think Rob has 2 choices. He's either got to walk away from this summer, or he's got to do something big, and I mean big, to turn the channel that we're on today.
Or the third choice is to lead the party into the election whenever that is.
Well, that's a terrible decision.
Well, it's let's go through the difficulties as you and probably I see it with the current premier. He has an innate ability to put his foot in his mouth. And he showed his last week in the legislature was, I thought, the best week that he had. He was pretty strong. He attacked Mac McFarlane. He pushed back. And then the session ended and he walked over to the media and he immediately stepped right up to a line that could be interpreted as a premier trying to have influence over an RCMP investigation when he said, I don't believe that Gilles Arsenault did anything wrong or illegal. He might have made a mistake. But then he took it one step further, which is the really ridiculous part. And he said, I will drive to District 24. I look forward to the day when I can pick up Gilles Arsenault and drive him back and have him return to caucus because Gilles did nothing wrong. And when the premier says that, he's trying to frame it in a legal perspective, but every Islander knows that Gilles Arsenault broke every rule possible in his $100,000 donation to a local nonprofit of his choosing with a very sparse track record. How do you get around a premier who just keeps on giving in terms of bad communication?
Yeah, well, because there's a couple points I probably would make. One is I know Rob; he's a really good guy, so I do personally really like him. I doesn't necessarily mean I think he's doing a good job as premier, and he's a really smart guy too. And I think
agree on both.
What I hear the most about him is if you gave him all the facts, he couldn't make a decision. He couldn't make a decision with them, and if he has none, he'll give you an answer. And I think that has been given him some really near fatal blows along the way, including this most recent one. And I'll tell you just a little story. Back in 2015, remember the "I don't get mail" quote that he made during the CBC debate? Yeah. I was standing in somebody's living room in Greenwich and trying to win votes because I was, my second election. I wanted to win, and when he said that, the air just went out of the room, and they all kind of looked at me, kind of like side-eyed me, and I just shrugged and I said, I still get my mail. Like it was, and for the next 7 days, I battled the "I don't get mail," and it's not the big things that necessarily win and lose you favor. It's often the very small things that you take for granted. And I think Rob takes too many of those things for granted. And second thing I'll say is just to finish on the media side, you don't have to give the media big clips. Like I spent my whole career giving them what I wanted to give them, not what they wanted. And
Well, thanks a lot for that, by the way. But
I gave you some good quotes. I
no,
gave you
no,
some.
no, no. Yeah, but here's the point, um, Rob. If Gilles Arsenault is charged, how does he walk back that statement that he's repeated? I don't think Gilles Arsenault did anything illegal. He made a mistake. I'm going to welcome back to caucus. What he should have said is what he said in the legislature when he stopped answering questions. It's a police investigation. We're going to let that roll out and see where it lands. That was the answer.
I agree. I don't
It,
know
it
why you didn't do that, but I would totally agree with you. That was the answer, and it was a missed chance to deaden that issue again rather than liven it back up.
well, it's to your point too about who's he talking to. He's not talking to Islanders. He's talking to his friend, and for his friend. And I'm sure there's a camaraderie in a caucus, but ultimately, MLAs are elected to represent individual ridings, and we don't expect, nor do you have to be, best buddies to govern.
Well, and the other thing is you're governing, and I mean you have to have relations inside the department, and I mean you're basically throwing a whole bunch of technical folks under the bus who had to sew this whole thing back together after it was a mess. So there's people in government who actually had to fix this, who aren't political, who weren't hired politically, who were hired because of their skill. And then you have a deputy and a minister who's currently Darlene Compton, who also are like Darlene had to face a lot of heat over this and try to answer questions during the session over it. Why would you do that to any of those people? Like it's when you only think about yourself, you end up wouldn't say shitting on everybody else basically, and that's what he's doing.
It's a podcast. You can say whatever you want,
I
man.
can, right? I can. I'm not elected.
And the other flub, at least a flub as I see it, was the provincial announcement of up to $5 million in support for the Netflix 10-part series this summer will be different. And that is a very steamy book that was based on PEI. I don't know if you've read it,
I don't read
Stephen.
steamy books, but
I'm reading it just to see what it's all about and
okay, I'll
and
commit
see
to
how
read.
the see how the island is portrayed. And my analogy is it's sort of everybody heard about Heated Rivalry this a few months ago, the TV show. It's sort of Heated Rivalry except for the seafood shucker beach crowd. And it's going to be from a tourism perspective. There are a lot of people who are just assuming that $5 million in credits are somehow as bad as the NHL deal, and they could not be worlds apart. The $5 million in credits through the provincial film fund will only be invested based on money spent on PEI for goods and services. And it's an up to 35% rebate. So I consider that a very good investment. I consider the NHL, which is 40% more expensive, to be a complete waste of money from a tourism perspective. But what the premier did, that to the point about sort of flubbing it, is one of the central communities in the book is Tyne Valley, and specifically the Tyne Valley Oyster Festival and Malpeque oysters. And instead, the premier and two cabinet ministers, neither of whom was the minister of tourism or the minister of fisheries, went to a lovely restaurant and promoted a specific brand of island oysters. And Adam McClellan in Tyne Valley took to social media, and because the province in the communications people didn't tag any of the folks or organizations in Tyne Valley that are referenced in it.
Why wouldn't they
Now,
announce it in Tyne Valley?
why wouldn't they announce it in Tyne Valley? Because Tyne Valley is not only central to the book, it's central to the oyster industry, which is facing decimation. And if you want to sort of show islanders that you care about their reality, go to where they are. So I see it as a missed opportunity to take a good news story and show islanders that you care, but they flubbed that dramatically, in my opinion. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I mean, I was away when it all kind of blew up, but I did read Adam's post as it was widely shared, and I do know Adam a little bit. And I think what I pull from it is the sentiment that Charlottetown doesn't care about us, and that's what I hear over and over again. And I've heard it my whole life, and Paul, you've heard it your whole life. I built a whole political career on Charlottetown doesn't care about us, right? Like that people believe it, and it's easy to say, and largely it's probably true. And stuff like this just further proves it. And the Tories have never been the government of Charlottetown, and I feel like suddenly they are. And when I mean, you know who Adam is, his father is an MLA for the Tories. If it's pissing him off that much that he takes it to, it's a sentiment that's not just him that's feeling it. It's a sentiment of rural PEI saying it again, and we feel like we get kicked in the guts over and over and over and over again. And I feel bad that he even had to make that post to shine the light on something that could have been easily foreseen if you had somebody besides a whole bunch of people in Brighton in the Premier's office.
Well, if you had asked anybody, what it appears, rightly or wrongly, because I don't want to mention the business or the oyster brand by name, because I don't think it's fair to
No,
be
it's not a
seen as,
fan.
it's not a criticism of any of them, but it does appear that someone in the Premier's office said, "Who do we know with a nice restaurant, and who do we know that grows oysters?" And
So
that's
it said,
not
who wrote? They should have said, who read the book?
well. You know what? That's a big issue. Someone pointed out that Vino Verde is a type of wine that's mentioned a lot in the book. And if you go to the PEI Liquor Commission website, we're very, very short on Vino Verde. So I would think before the masses come rolling in, and they will come in for the Netflix series, not the NHL, we better have a good stock of Vino Verde, because this thing, you know, Netflix has hundreds of millions of subscribers around the world, and it's very common to see productions from other countries shown here, and the flip. And PEI is going to look good on camera, and there will be a lot of steamy sex scenes, which will attract a lot of probably predominantly a majority female crowd. And guess who books vacations?
It's true.
Females.
I must say,
80%.
I was in Norway one time and visited a number of the sites from Game of Thrones, because they're laid out there, they're marked where they are, and it shows the actual scene in the show that you would have watched if you watched Game of Thrones. And it was a big thing to me to get to as many of them as I could as we traveled. So it was just a vacation one time that we did. But yeah, so I believe that will happen in these cases too.
Yeah, and also I think the comparison with the NHL, which I know I hammer, but 40% more, no data, but a report's going to be written this summer, I'm guessing, that tries to spin it in a positive way for the provincial government.
And then the viewership of the NHL playoffs has dropped dramatically since the Montreal Canadiens got put out. I read that yesterday. We know we
Toronto missed the playoffs, so what really matters in life?
They always will.
Uh,
I think they always will, which will make me happy.
Okay, I did a lot of talking on the
Let's talk
government.
about the other parties. I mean,
That's right. Take the lead on the Libs.
so I think the Liberals, and I again, much like Rob Lance, I like Rob Mitchell. He's a good guy. He's a retail politician. I don't think he's connecting with Islanders either. Like, I think that they have their own internal issues. I hear a former Liberal cabinet minister is trying to organize a new party, and I've heard that from three people now. And I believe that it's true. And
Are you going to say the name?
share. Do you want me to name the party too?
Well, yeah, the party
No,
of
no.
no movement, because Wes is a lovely guy, but I mean, he's got his own particular track record.
Well, he's got baggage.
Baggage, baggage. He's got a whole cargo bay,
I'm trying to be nice. It's Friday. Like I'm supposed to be in good humor.
and you're still in vacation mode. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm getting into cranky summer mode. Anyway,
So we have that, and then I'm hearing quite rapidly that Dan Kuchar's going around asking people if he should run in the municipal election this fall to remain as mayor, or should he keep his powder dry and run for leadership of the Liberal Party, as though it's going to be open here. So, and I've heard that from numerous people now that's the case. I mean, he hasn't said it to me, because why would he? But so I feel like if that's the case, people are thinking that Robert Mitchell isn't the person they want, or that the party is dead. And I think that's going to be an issue for him.
well, here's the challenge that Robert Mitchell faces, I think, is Dave Mitchell, very popular local counselor, real estate athlete, well known. He's put his name forward for the Liberal nomination. So does Robert Mitchell fight a contested nomination, or does he sit on the sidelines and hope that he can build the party for whenever the leadership or the provincial election is held?
I think he's damned if he does, and he's damned if he doesn't. I think that the other two parties would like to have him in the legislature, and I think that if he's not in the legislature, he starts to dry on the vine, especially if the Tories go right to the date, which I have no idea if they will or not. But if they go right to the 2027 date, he's got to sit on the vine for another 18 months, and that's not a happy place to be when your party isn't happy with you and you can't make any traction.
How can you argue to your party that you shouldn't run in District 16, but you made a point of saying, I need to run in District 2 because I need to be in the legislature?
I don't know. I really don't. I don't know. And I think that's where his leadership is faltering some. And I will say, I've heard a lot of people, I'm sure you have too, talking about Carolyn Simpson, how what a great session she had, how her issues were on point with the public, that she seems to be caring and connected to. And I've even heard some rumblings of people saying that she'd be somebody who could be leader because she's elected. She's new, so she doesn't have that political stink on her yet. She hasn't done anything that she has no baggage because she's never
Yeah.
been in government. She's new. She's a female face, and I think we're there. I think the public would vote for her, and I think this. So I think the Liberals have lots of choices. I guess is what I'm saying. And I'll say this. I'll
But
say
they have
this.
limited a timeline, Stephen.
Well, here's the catch. The two main parties, whoever makes the first move will be government. Whoever gets rid of their leader and gets a new leader will be government. I'll guarantee you. Whoever makes the first move.
Well, I think that might be easier said for the Liberals than the Tories. Because if Lance leaves, and I know you push Corey Deagle, and Corey's my MLA, and he's a good guy. I don't think Corey can wipe away the stink of the last few years. And I'm not sure whether he has a track record that people can look at and say, yes, we see that as sort of a harbinger of what might be.
No, but I've heard a lot of people say he had a really good spring session, which I would tend to agree with, and he showed quite a bit of leadership. There's also Blois Thompson there, and I know that the sticky part with Blois is he took that interim premier for a period of time, and he's in that weirdly similar position that Rob Lance would have been in. But I mean, Blois Thompson is salt of the earth.
Yeah.
He's a stand-up guy. People like him. You know, I feel like women like him where, it's a place that the Tories maybe falter in. And I think the Tories also have options. I guess I'll put it that way. And if Corey wants to run, I don't know that he does, then run. And if Boyce wants to run. I think you know, I think that's the solution. One of
I
those
think
two
the
guys.
Tories remind me right now, and this is how old I am, and I've told this story before, but John Buchanan, who was Premier of Nova Scotia, and he was called Teflon John for a long time until the government spent, I think, $25,000 on electric toilet seats or something like that. And then literally everything stuck to John Buchanan. And I think that's sort of the same thing. Dennis King had free reign to do whatever he wanted, and nothing really stuck to him. Um, Rob squandered a lot of that goodwill through his lack of action and his waffling for a year. And then he's multiplied it exponentially since he became premier on a permanent basis. And I don't know how you walk that back. I mean, the Tories to change to another leader, well, that would be what, five
Look, I know
in 2 years?
it's messy, but so is losing. So is losing a party that's come so far.
Sometimes you need to lose to get back to where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, maybe. I think it took us a long time for those of us who were around dragging the party back to here. It took us a long time to drag it here, and there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of bad history that we had to endure, and a lot of bad things, and a lot of stress, and a lot of sleepless nights. And I think that the Johnny Come Latelys that are in there making these terrible decisions right now weren't a part of any of that, so they don't know. And you know what? Darlene Compton was, Sidney McEwen was, Matt McKay was, James Elward was, Colin Levy was. Ask any of those people what they
Who,
think.
how many Tories do you think will not run for re-election? Any sense of that?
I'm not hearing any that won't at this point. I haven't heard any.
Matt McKay's not going to
Oh,
run
sorry,
again.
Matt probably won't, but I don't think he's announced that. But mm,
We,
he maybe
we
could be.
just did.
Well, he could be convinced back to come back. Like I don't know where I haven't talked to him in a little while, so I don't know where his head's at on it.
Shall we shift to the perceived leader in the polls, Matt McFarland, new leader?
Yeah, you want to go first?
Certainly a strong spring session. He's
Yeah,
sort of, I mean, we had criticized him in the past for not resonating with Islanders, but he made some subtle shifts in the spring that I think really worked in his favor. And when Islanders are mad at the two other parties, if they see an option in the third, they'll gravitate towards it. It's not dissimilar to what we saw with Peter Baker when he had his breakthrough, I don't think.
yeah. There may be some minor differences. Well, I'll say this: like they really did have a really good spring session, and I think like out of the party leaders, he seems to be the one that has the best grasp on the political part of it. And when I say political, like it's just people. It's just how people feel. So politics is people, and if to be political, it means you're where the people want you to be. And he's the only leader who I see is where the people want you to be. So I would say that about him. I think the issue Matt has isn't Matt. And I said this before, he's got a little bit of brand issue with the party where, I've heard from people that say, yeah, I really like Matt, but he's never going to have anybody run here that's going to connect with me or that's going to, well, I think that's where he's got to look around and get some retail politicians for himself. And I think, I mean, not to be harsh on all of them, and I know he's only got a couple so far, but Robert McPherson, who's running in 7, would be fantastic, except he's running in a district the Tories have only lost twice since 1954. Like, that's going to be the challenge. But he'd be a great retail politician. I just know him a little bit, very easy to talk to, nice guy, knows his way around. People like that, get people like that across the province who don't have to show me your resume. You have to show me that you can connect with the community by being a retail politician. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what people want.
So give me one thing that every leader needs to do. We'll start with Rob Lance this summer, sort of to firm it up. What do you need to do?
Well, Rob, I'll give you 2. He's got to leave or do something really big that changes the candle. I've said that already. Like your options are this: leave or do something that's big, and it's got to be big. And a well-known.
What would big be for you?
Well, I don't know. Like he had the chance to take on Maritime Electric, and he didn't.
Blew it.
He blew it. Like if this healthcare issue that the payments is such a big deal, take on the federal government, or he had a chance to take on Iraq and he blew it. Like I don't know what the hell else is left that he could do that he hasn't already blown. But
well, the problem is people rightly start to tune politics out in the summer too,
totally,
right?
totally.
Yeah. So the summer is not the time to do anything big.
Well, but like the Tories need to start hearing from you. And I know a well-known Tory had recently said, "How could you expect them to do something big when they can't do any of the small things right?" And your own party's running around saying that about you.
Yeah.
I'm voting Tory next election, no question about it. But if people are hearing me say not good things about them, they may choose not to.
Well, it'll just confirm what they're already probably thinking.
Exactly.
If you look at the premier's social media posts, it is very similar to how Wade McLaughlin believed that you should do social media, which is sort of a grip and grin, stand with people, say something in the message or the text that is somehow far larger than just a drop-in visit to a home. I mean, you went to the home for the photo, not for what you learned. That's the problem with taking a picture of everywhere you go.
Agreed.
And if you've got the problems that you indicate he has within the Tory party, you got to shore up your volunteers first, don't you?
Totally. And I mean, I've been in millions of homes, not millions, thousands and thousands of homes, and you've never seen pictures of it because I did it because I needed to connect, not because I needed you to know. And that's the
Correct.
part that he's probably missing right now. And I think you said it on Compass. You said he was wooden, and until you said it, I was like, oh, that's it. And that's exactly what Wade was. Wade was wooden as well. Like Paul is smart. There's no question in either one of their intellects and their passion or even their drive, but their ability to do it at that level or connect to that level is missing badly. And I think he's becoming Wade 2.0 to me.
Let's go on to the Liberals. Ed, we'll just stop it right there.
Well, what do the Liberals need to do? God, I don't know. Like I think Robert Mitchell has to start standing for stuff. And I know when I was in opposition, the party would always be like, "You got to come out and say what you're going to do," and we'd be like, "No, no, no! Like we got to get government down. We got to get them down further before we can." Which is both true. Like
Yeah,
both sides are right. And I think Robert Mitchell has to start telling us who he is, because all we have, if he doesn't tell us, is his history, and his history's not flattering.
his history is not flattering. But doesn't he? If he wants to secure his leadership at least a little bit, he has to run for the nomination at 16, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he can run in order to run for election SPI. The leader has to sign your nomination paper, so he can he can be the candidate just by saying, "I'm doing it."
Well, if he does that, he's done.
Well, you gotta. You're not gonna.
He's done.
How do you? How does somebody run against the leader of the party for a nomination?
How does somebody get out beforehand? And it's not just somebody; it's a strong
Oh,
local
super guy.
brand.
Super guy.
Yeah,
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 super guy.
and I thought I heard, you probably know it way better than I thought I heard that he might have had some Tory leanings in the past. Is that true?
Well, that's what I'm told. I don't know why the Tories didn't ask him to run. Like, if he was so
Maybe they
interested,
maybe they did.
well, maybe they did. I don't know. Yeah, maybe they
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
Matt McFarlane, what's Matt McFarlane have to do? Is it recruiting candidates and
yeah,
trying to get some prominent ones out
yeah.
fast?
Hey, and you know what? Go to the ball field. Go to the soccer field. Take a list of everybody who's coaching, or the ones that are sitting at the tables at the soccer tournament in like places like Montague and Hunter River, or the ones that are running things for you. They're the people that everybody knows, everybody trusts, and have been committed to their community for a long period of time. Like, not you don't just need sports people, but find the people who are making the communities tick and get them to run for you. No one cares
Uh,
about your resume ever.
yeah. Do you think? I think both. This may apply to both the Greens and the Liberals. That there are former MLAs who may be trying to position themselves for a return to politics. Is that a good thing because of experience, or is it sort of a potential negative in that it reminds people of who you were rather than who you will be?
Yeah, I think it's a bit. I never think it's a good thing. I mean, it's rarely happened. I know Richard Brown came back after Bobby McMillan beat him in 2000.
Yeah.
I don't know a whole lot of other instances where people have won and then lost and then won again. Usually, when you get told no, you should take it as a no. No
Yeah,
means no.
I was glad Brown came back because he gave the finger to Islanders literally outside the
It-
provincial legislature,
I would
and there
say
was a photographer, John Morris, was there to snap the photo.
that was a that and blowing up the beaver dams. But I will say I have a great relationship with Richard Brown, and I think a lot of them. He was very good to me in my
Yeah, yeah.
political career. If we could get him on someday, we could tell stories about back and forth. And if I'll tell you advice he gave me, and I'll tell you very early on in my career, I was pretty bombastic, and I'd have my arms.
No, were you? I had
Yeah,
no idea.
and one day we are walking out of the legislature, and he just comes up to me, puts his arm on my shoulder, and he says, "I'm going to give you advice, Steve, that somebody gave me. Go home and watch question period tonight, but just turn the volume off and watch it, and say, is that the guy? Is that the guy I want people to see me as?" And from then on, I kept my hands in. I lowered my temperature of my body motion. I was still bombastic. I still asked hard things, but I started to really control my movement and how I appeared more. And I credit Richard Brown for giving me that advice, which nobody else would have given me if he hadn't.
Yeah, it's probably good advice. I'm not sure whether it helped your public image or not, holding your
Well, it could have been a lot worse, I think, if I had my arms up in the
well,
air all the time.
maybe so. Speaking of guests, I mean, we should just sort of, we haven't talked about this, so it's speech on the fly.
Yeah,
This summer, as we do podcasts, we're going to be bringing in guests to talk about whatever we need to talk about. Could be an issue. They may not necessarily be politicians, but we should be able to have some interesting conversations with Islanders who are doing impactful things.
yeah, I think that'd be great. It'd be, and I have a list of former politicians who might give you the type of stories that I'm able to give, but from a different perspective too, that might give some great insight into how they viewed their time in politics too.
Well, I'm thinking since you didn't ask the mayor of Summerside whether he's running. Well, maybe we
Bring him
should
on,
get.
and I'd ask him my first question. I'd ask him this truth.
Well,
What was
you don't give away your first question, Stephen. For God's sake,
Well,
you like to keep
this
it
is the question. If
secret.
you come on, this is the question. Here, I'll throw somebody out there, and I haven't talked to her, but I really like Hannah Bell, and
Yeah,
she's a firecracker for telling the truth. I think she would make an incredible podcast, and just let her tell her how she saw politics, because she never got to the
that's
government
interesting.
side. She lived in opposition. She came
Yeah,
in through the hard way, because she came in a by-election that she really probably didn't expect to win greatly, and
yeah.
won, and I thought was a very effective politician. So I think
Have you
she.
got a star of the week, despite the fact that you were out of province?
Oh, I would. I, I want to say maybe like a star of the session I would give to Carolyn Simpson.
Yeah,
I thought she really grew into it as the time went on. She was calm. She was knowledgeable. She was persistent, and I think, not that it matters, but she got under government's skin a little bit, which generally says that she's onto something.
yeah.
So I'm going to give Carolyn Simpson the star of the legislature. I thought she did a tremendous job. And if the rumors I'm hearing are true, that people are interested in her for leadership, if the opening came up, I think she should consider it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm going to go more local. I'm going to go with Debbie Johnson, the mayor of Three Rivers, and the reason I'm going to do it is we all know the abuse that council has taken by some who believes that council is responsible for everything in the world, and the other levels of government, including the provincial and federal, are just letting our local reps take the hit. Debbie has initiated public meetings, so she's going out. She started to go out to communities, and whoever wants to talk to her can talk to her. And I think that is a great thing for growing a community and building trust in a local government. But I also think that it shows a level of courage, given some of the antics that we've seen at town hall, and I just find that very commendable.
No, and I would agree. And I worry that nobody's going to run in the next set of elections here because of the fiasco that's been going on here the last little while. So,
You know, Iraq just threw out I think it's the fourth time that they threw out
yeah.
sort of a complaint that was made against the municipality. And honestly, Iraq, in this review that's being undertaken, Iraq needs a fast lane to dismiss frivolous allegations. They should be able to just look at it, boom, boom, boom. You don't live anywhere near a monastery. How can you claim that you're impacted? No. And you decide within 10 days rather than months, because it's bureaucratic, and it hurts local government, and it makes municipal councils sort of easy targets. I think that if you continue to lose, you should pay some legal bills.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you couldn't take people to the court, to a real court, all the time, and eventually you would get hit
Nope.
with that. So I would tend to agree. And I just, back to Debbie, like, I think I like Debbie a lot, and I think she's done a tremendous job in a very young municipality. Like, we still obviously have some growing pains, so I think she's done a great job. And I'm glad to hear she's out doing this, because it means she's at least has some interest in running again, which I think is positive.
Positive,
And,
yeah.
and hopefully she can, for the people who may be deciding to walk away from it, that she can round up some good people who can help her take this, the rest of the way. Which I think they've come a really long way since amalgamation. So,
A long way. Stephen Myers, we've made it through episode 10 of Myers and MacNeill Because Life is Local. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, PEI Canada. We're just about everywhere. We're omnipresent, Stephen.
we're great. And we're
So
not fighting it. And we're not fighting, FYI.
FYI, no, we're not.
And if
We
we are,
could
we'll
be.
still be back next week. So,
Correct. Potentially with a guest. Let's figure
potentially
that
with a
out
guest.
offline.
Okay.
Stephen Myers, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.